Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you can catch new spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so you can join in the notification squad. Alright, so happy Friday the 13th. And now when I heard there was a New Mutants trailer with a horror tone to it, I was like, okay, I gotta check this out. Because it amazes me how much we will get that tone in the comics, but then when the films come out, we don't see any of it anywhere. And I'm talking about the issues that came out during the time that the comics were selling very well. And although New Mutants isn't necessarily a storyline that deals with a sense of horror, or a series I should say that is based around horror, it was one series like many others that would use that undertone at times, and that would make for some really good reading. And you could pretty much find a point in time in any comic series where they took on some form of this type of delivery, but only so many of them really did it well. And I'm talking about after a lot of your horror stories took over comics, which was more like your 40s, 50s, and 60s, but New Mutants is something that came along more around your early 80s. But with Fox taking this chance and giving us this film with the horror tone, I can't help but to thank shows like Stranger Things that prove that taking this route can potentially lead to a property that's wildly successful. So mainly what I want to do in this video is talk about some of these characters and potentially things that may happen in the film. And personally, I don't know how close they're sticking to the comics and what happened in the comics, but there are a few things that happened in this trailer that just jumped out as direct references to what happened in the comics. And those are really the main things that I want to point out real quick. So possible spoiler territory, but you never know. So first starting with Sam Guthrie, or Cannonball. And I know this is going to sound weird, but I'm very excited about seeing his arm in a sling. Because aside from his ability to propel himself just like a cannonball, when he does this, he also produces a force field around himself to protect himself, of course. But on top of that, there was an incident where that force field failed. He crashed and supposedly died. And if I remember right, it's like he didn't even know that he died. He just thought he was knocked out pretty bad and banged up. But aside from that instance, he's also been shot, he's been stabbed, and with either of these fatal wounds, he's either healed completely or he's died and come back. But like in your instance when Sauron killed him, that was like the definitive moment for this character where we found out, okay, this dude is immortal. But this particular ability for him was more so explored later on in the X-Force issues. And this is like in your early 90s where the X-Men comics were the biggest thing on the shelf. And because of that, anything X-related, X-Force, X-Factor, they got a bit of that residual success. And I'm hoping that they stay true to this character's origin and all of his abilities. And I say this because we get a couple quick but clear glimpses of his origin in the trailer. Because Sam grew up in a fairly large family in Kentucky, very much living that farm life, but for his immediate father, Thomas Guthrie, he worked in a coal mine. And that life and inhaling all that smoke and everything took its toll on his father, and eventually he passed. But later on, Sam would do the same thing and follow in his father's footsteps. And I want to say it was like his first day working in the coal mines, but there was a cave-in and he got trapped in there with a friend of his father's. And that's when his mutant power manifested and he was able to save the both of them. And I'm pretty sure that this scene here is either an illusion or a flashback that he's given by Danielle Moonstar. But I'm pretty sure this is the moment that he's taken back to with everybody wearing the hard hats and using the miner picks as well. And the guy we see here in the close shot with him is possibly his dad. We don't really know at this point. Like, it all happens real quick and we don't get any dialogue with it, so I'm just kind of going off what it looks like. But it is looking good as far as them sticking to his story. But for all my New Mutant fans and X-Force fans, like, don't hold your breath for Cable to come in and start training him, because as of right now, even though we have both of these characters hitting the big screen, it's not like we have any one of them meeting up anytime soon. Like, this ain't the MCU. And like, they could get on that level, but for whatever reason they don't. Because aside from your New Mutant characters, you also have all the X-Men. Gifted is looking good. Inhumans has a great cast, but I don't know what the hell they doing with that storyline. But I say that to make the point that they have a number of exponentially great characters that they could tie together and make your Infinity War level event. But we'll see what Stan Lee was talking about as far as getting all these characters together and making it happen. But sticking to the topic, other characters that I'm excited to see here are also Magic. And in the comics, she was long separated from her brother Colossus because she got kidnapped. And they may visit some of that because it ties in with characters like Arcade, who honestly is a character I could care less to see anywhere at all. But who took her after that is a character we may have seen in the trailer already. And that is a sorcerer who has been around since the 13th century, and his name is Belasco. And even though in the trailer we just got a real quick glimpse at this guy. And aside from that, I really have no proof that this is him, just being honest. But the coincidence is just so uncanny. Because Belasco is a character who originally was a sorcerer in the 13th century, and he got into all sorts of dark magic with the Elder Gods. and he made a deal with them that he'd be able to get them to return to Earth in exchange for great power and immortality. But as a side effect to the power, he was made like mad ugly and more demonic looking. But in order to free these elder gods, he needed to use Illyana in a spell in order to produce the Bloodstones, which would free the elder gods. And we mentioned Bloodstones previously when Wolverine's son Daken stole one from the Punisher, and we'll talk more about that next week when we dive into our Frankencastle video. But I'm real curious to see, like, with the film here, if this has happened already, if he's already kidnapped her and she's gotten out, because it's possible when she sees him here that she's not only freaked out, but she recognizes him. And I also say that it's likely that this has happened after her kidnapping, because when she got taken, she was little. But after being held in the pocket dimension and him doing spells that would amplify Illyana's power, like when she got out, she was like 7 years older. And the time that it passed in the pocket dimension was much longer for her there than it actually passed here on Earth. Because in this pocket dimension, sometimes it's called other place, or in some cases it's referred to as limbo, but the conditions of it are kind of like a blurred line, because in some instances people will stay there for a long time and not age, but in other cases like magic, you'll have instances where she stepped into that dimension and has aged 7 years. But either way, Belasco's the one that amplified her powers and taught her how to create her soul sword. And now, like I said, we really have no clue at this point if they're going to follow this by the books in the movie. And would I like to see ancient sorcery, pocket dimensions, and bloodstones all mixed up and tied up in this movie? Yes, absolutely. But I'm not going to get my hopes up all extra high. I just hope that they follow this throughout the film. And also what they may try to do is just keep it simple, because she can open up portals going from this dimension into the pocket dimension, because really as far as her mutant power, she has the ability to open up portals between time and space. I'm just curious to see whether they'll try to dumb that down or they'll take the full aspect of magic and mutant both inside this film. But yeah, those are just a couple things that jump out to me, like we're first watching this trailer, like my first thoughts about it. And I really feel like because you have characters who die and come back from the dead, whose powers originate in dark magic, other characters who even turn into wolves. And maybe it's just me, but I just feel like it's appropriate to have these characters with a horror theme. And with Wolfsbane, like we haven't seen her like transform yet, but there's been debates of whether she'll go full Twilight on us or if she'll still keep somewhat of a humanoid form. Because either way would be accurate to the comics depending on which run you want to refer to. But personally, I think they're going to take more of the humanoid route, because more often than not always, but in more cases, you'll find that directors want to keep some form of the actor's face, especially a great actor like Maisie Williams, and they'll take that route for the sole purpose of catching more emotion out of the character's performance. And this is just an image I see it online, possibly of how our transformation will look. And we also got to look at Dr. Cecilia Reyes, who's also a mutant and survivor of the Weapon X program. And although the trailer looks like she's keeping them in some kind of weird torture house, I think it's very possible that she's really trying to help them. Plus her power of creating shields around herself will definitely come in handy if anything crazy pops off. But yeah, those are just some of my initial thoughts from seeing this trailer. And you guys just let me know if you want me to spend more time on any of the characters in particular, or even let me know what you're excited about for this film. And you can either let me know down in the comments or you just hit me on Twitter. And all my social media handles will be down in the description. And just to let you know, most of the time I am on Twitter. I just happen to use that one more than anything else. And I don't necessarily know why, because Twitter's just kind of become a little bit of everything all in one spot. And it just makes it real easy to engage with everybody all in one place. Not to mention I like to do Twitter polls, one of which we're doing a video on next week. And that's our Wolverine versus Wolverine 1610 versus 616. So definitely subscribe so you can catch that. But like I said, that's it for this one. Smash that like button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Alright, later.